I just want to run through a little bit here about how to input data for manufacturers. So I'm going to go to Account. I'm going to run up here to Product Specs and Performance Facts. And here you'll see a selection of menus which are only available currently to manufacturers. However, it does represent the choices that you make as an integrator when you put in a custom product. So let's just say I'd like to add a speaker. I'm going to click on the speaker tab. I'm going to choose the manufacturer, and then I'm going to choose the type of speaker. I can just drag and drop a speaker into this part on the screen here, as long as it's less than 8 meg and it's a JPEG or a PNG. We have had some problems with people trying to upload a sort of 130 meg TIFF, so just make sure the image is roughly a decent size for a web image. Now you can enter your range, your series, your model. Is it a speaker, a soundbar, or a subwoofer? Could I use it as a left center and a surround? Could I use it as a ceiling speaker? Here on this occasion the manufacturer has opted not to, however you probably could. And is it a dedicated LFE loudspeaker? Is it an in-room floor stander? No. Is it an in-room on a tool stand? No. Is it a CI in-wall or baffle wall? Yes. Could I use it as an in-ceiling as well? I could click this button, in-wall or in-ceiling. And so, you know, the manufacturers are really responsible for doing that. So the radio buttons that they select here will obviously impact what's available for the dealer to select and how those loudspeakers will be applied. So we could say, is it a portrait? Is it a circular housing or body? So we have had issues where people don't, if it's a circular speaker, they don't check the circular speaker button, and then it looks like a sort of shark's fin, like a shoebox poking out the top of the ceiling or something like that, because it doesn't, the system doesn't know that the dimensions you've given it is a diameter rather than a height. Is it a direct radiating loudspeaker or a line source line array? And here we've got, is it dedicated? So some loudspeakers may say this is a dedicated left and this is a dedicated right. Active or passive seems obvious. And now we're going to run into some of the performance facts data. So we're going to run into here and say, you know, 87 dB sensitivity, what its impedance is, what its SPL at 1 meter, peak output, and we're going to go through here and say the frequency response of this loudspeaker. The room correction setup here is basically if you've got a subwoofer which comes with, you know, maybe some onboard calibration features. So something like a Martin Logan subwoofer, for instance, may well have access to Arc Genesis as a room correction. Total driver quantity for units. So if you've got a two-way, you know, you're going to put that in a three-way floor stander, may well have 2 LFE low frequency drive units. So that's just the total, ported or sealed if it's a sub. Here we've got, you know, are they front, downward or side? And then the size of those. And obviously some people will deal in inches because that's generally what the industry talks about, you know, 6-inch and 8-inch or 12-inch, and it will convert that to millimeters and vice versa. So here the speaker quantity and the tweeter quantity is such. Then we've got all of the dimensions for this as well as, you know, sizes of those tweeters and woofers. So obviously there are extra bits down here that are only available to the internal staff members here, but this will become more apparent as RP1 is released and you know, performance facts becomes a much bigger part. So if you've got, let's just for instance say there's a CI 65A and you just wanted to clone that, you could clone that and then just change the suffix to A, and then it would save you making all of those changes as a manufacturer. And you can also add a new range and model. So if you were to go up here and say add new, then you could add a new range and model and then you could start from fresh. If you was a processor manufacturer and you wanted to, to put in a processor, then you're going to drag and drop your image into here. You're going to talk about HDMIs, opticals, SPDIFs, RACU, room correction, room calibration stuff, as well as dimensions and those kind of things. So we are, heavily dependent really on the manufacturers diving into the back end and inputting this data. However, the integrators do have the ability to add their own products, whereas they haven't been able to do that before. So let's just say you wanted to use an AVR that wasn't in the system. Integrators will be able to, in the 3D model or in their workspace, click add something to my library, and then they can add their own. It won't show up in the global library. That is all done here by manufacturers and ourselves. So you can see that we can do the same for an AVR. And here you've got, lots of other little things that the manufacturers could put in. And this back end is growing all the time. So we're adding more features and functionalities. So, bi-wireable loudspeakers, how many sets of binding posts, colors and finishes, maybe even driver materials, continuum or Kevlar, or so this is being developed all the time, and we do the same for flat panel displays and all sorts. So you can see that it's not as easy as people would believe, to put products into the tool, but we are working hard with the manufacturers to make sure that they do their bit, we do our bit, and if we can't get your products into the tool, then obviously you have the ability now in TCD 2.0 to do that yourself. So that's just a quick run through of performance facts and how things are added into the tool.